can't believe Michael pulled that off Regent Street. It took him months to get the permits, everything was in order, and then the Queen died, and it all got shut down.
Yeah, there's no insurance for Queen's dying. Yeah, God bless her, ma'am. And yeah, that was our first concern, was that she departed, of course. And then our second concern was how are we going to find the money to redo this whole thing? And that's the amazing thing about my journey so far in the movie world, is how on earth any film gets made is beyond me, because the trials and tribulations of bringing this to screen from the inception of the idea 7 years ago, that's a documentary in itself, and yeah, it's fascinating. Also, I found what was fascinating then was I was taking in that song and the part of the movie more enthusiastically than anybody in the movie, than anybody sat here today. And I was accusing actors of being narcissists. I'm sat here going... So, excuse me.
No, it's not music, and you're live.
Yeah,
so fair enough.
Yeah, I can be proud, right? Yeah.
So that scene is beautiful, but not everything that is depicted in the film of your life is pretty by any means. And I had a conversation with Michael a few weeks ago where he talked about how proud he was of you for just letting him tell it, no sugarcoating. And you'd said to me that your bandmates from Take That we just saw depicted had not yet seen it. Have they seen it yet?
One of them has. And that's the thing about this movie. There were many villains in this movie until we legally couldn't have many villains in this movie. And now the only villain in this movie is me.
What about your first manager?
Well, you know, I don't think they villain him enough, to be honest with you. But so I was in a boy band in England called Take That, and hey, thank you. And there was the lead singer Gaz, and we had a fractious relationship. And in the script, I speak how I spoke, and I think how I thought back then, which wasn't complimentary to Gaz. And we sent him the script, and he rang me, and you know, he's a grown-up. And there was no effing and jeffing or pointy fingers. How are you going to do effing and jeffing? Because I don't even know what that means. I heard my grandma say it, and I was like, oh, I'll keep that in. Anyway, so Gaz gets the script and he phones me, and he's like, Rob, I come off worse than Darth Vader in the first Star Wars. So yeah, so we had to, and I'm quite happy to be the main villain in this movie.
You'd also told me that your then girlfriend Nicole Appleton, who was in the band All Saints, she's a big part of this story, and some really bad, very difficult things happen that involve her. And obviously she approved the script, but you told me that her and her sister, who's also in the band, had watched it and then FaceTimed you.
Yeah.
How do you feel in that moment?
Well, the things that you're talking about, very bad things happened, was she was made to have an abortion of our child. And yeah, it's rough and triggering. And but this thing about Nick is that that's the most difficult bit of the film for me personally, is because everybody else in the movie, they did something bad, and I don't mind throwing them under the bus. But when it comes to Nick, I was the person that did the bad thing. Not talking about forcing her to get an abortion, because I didn't do that. But then she's incredibly wonderful, incredibly kind, and incredibly brave, and also wants her part of the story shown too. So I FaceTimed her straight after she came out of the screening, and it was just a blubberfest. It was just tears, 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 and we just all, you know, and in the middle of being able to talk, all we could say to each other was, "Triggered," and then back to crying again. You know, so yeah, but this is, yeah, hopefully this is very much a healing experience for me, and I hope that it's a healing experience for her, because, you know, she didn't deserve the version of me that she got when I was the version of that person back then. And I feel great shame that I didn't represent myself in the best way possible, because she deserves the best, and she deserved the best me, and she didn't get it. Effing and jeffing.
So Michael also told me that, and I really admire your ability to do this. You let him basically get on with it, even though this is so personal. You've come to a place where you were like, okay, fine, that's the truth, go tell it. And then he didn't let you see the film until it was done. And partly that was because he didn't want to freak you out with a chimpanzee. And he didn't want to show you before the CGI was on there, because it would have looked really different. So you're seeing it for the first time finished.
Let's call it how it is. He didn't want to show me while there was any time for there to be redone, because I
yes,
didn't
that's
like
exactly
the bits.
what I'm talking
That's
about.
what he did, but he didn't have to, because, you know, when you hire or have somebody as brilliant as Michael Gracie direct your biography, you better let him do it. If you hire Robbie Williams, you get Robbie Williams. Let me do Robbie Williams. Michael Gracie knows way more about scripts, about direction, about the points that need to be hit, you know, than I do, and I just let him do him. And yeah, this is. Has anybody seen it, by the way? And a few people. Yeah. It's a massive. In fact, not everybody has seen it, but only those people appreciate it. No, it's a massive, massive swing, ballsy. And you look, I just got out of his way, and thank God that I did.
But then you're in the theatre, you watch it for the first time, and I mean, I find it a very deeply emotional watch. I can't begin to imagine if that was my life and I'm suddenly watching the film of actually a very, very difficult story, and it's my life. How did you even cope? How did you process that?
Well, I think the one big aspect of being this kind of neurodivergent is that I don't pick up on the cues where normal people go, I better not share that, or I better not say that. Like, I'm good with social cues, I get them, it's just all of this other stuff. It's like I go, here are my hemorrhoids. And people go, maybe you should not show your hemorrhoids. And I go, why? I have hemorrhoids. You know, so I don't get it. You know, I don't, because people keep coming to me and they keep going, you're very brave. And I want to go, thanks, but I don't know which bit's the brave thing, because here are my hemorrhoids.
Okay, so something...
That's where I keep my hemorrhoids. See?
Something that you had said to me, though, was that you were worried about your dad.
Oh, yeah.
Because, you know, this is a telling of a version of a story through the eyes of a child, and partly through what your mum had told you about your dad. And when we're kids, we think it's all about our self-worth if our parent does something weird. So that's the story. But there's so much more to your dad, and you were saying that to me, that you were worried about him because the film is a version of him.
I don't want him to see it because, you know, I've done so much work on myself. I've rehabbed, I've therapied. I've lived in Los Angeles for 24 years, and I'm very grateful that I've picked up on how to do all of this and heal yourself, and we Brits don't do that, but, you know, but my dad hasn't, and he hasn't needed to, and also we haven't had this conversation. So this is so bizarre to have this film, and the main thing running through it is my relationship with my father that I haven't talked to my father about, and yeah, I don't want him to see it. Just because also, you know, Steve Pemberton, who plays my dad in this movie, does a brilliant job. He's tour de force. But also, you know, my dad in this movie is not very likable, and there's nobody that hasn't met my dad that hasn't fallen in love with him straight away, because he's just charming and a beautiful person and wonderful. Even my mum at one point fell in love with him. And this is funny, so don't be sad, but she's got dementia, right, my mum? Yeah, that's not the funny bit. But the last thing she'll remember is how much she hates my dad. That's funny. You're allowed.
What does the rest of your family say about it? Is there anyone else that you've shown it to that was challenging?
The rest of my family aren't in it. It's like me, my mum, my nan, and my dad, and that's how it starts. But I guess the cousins could have done more to be featured in my life when they should have featured themselves more in my life. It's not my fault that they're boring. I don't mean that, Cousin Jane, Cousin Bunty, Cousin Matthew. I don't mean that. You're very wonderful people, and you don't deserve to be thrown under the bus, because you're all wonderful to me, and I love you.
Let's talk about John O'Davies, who plays you under the CGI, and he does an insanely impressive job. Did you get together with him, or did he work based on the tapes and all the footage that there is of you? How did you do that?
So Jono showed me footage of him doing karaoke way before this was even muted for him to play me, and he was playing me at karaoke and doing a really good job. And I think it turns out that he's a fan of mine and has been watching me for quite a while. So yeah, he has done an unbelievable job. And no, I didn't sit with him. You know, I didn't sit with him. The me that's on stage is very different than the me that's off stage. So I met him and you know, we palled about, but it wasn't a learning experience. What I do love is he has a much better arse than me, and it is because like I've got a long torso, and everybody thinks I'm really small, but I'm 6'1", and it's my legs that do it. And Jono's got really lovely legs and a lovely arse, so I'm very, very happy that this is how people will remember me.
I have to say that when I saw this film, I just went straight onto my Spotify and started playing all your hits. But you also have a new song in this film, Forbidden Road. Tell us about writing that, and at what point did you sit down? Did you see the film and an early cut and then write, or how did that happen?
I sent several songs to Michael Gracie over the 2 years leading up to this. And I always knew this story about 8 Mile and Eminem sending Lose Yourself and the director going, it's not good enough. And then it turned out to be 8 Mile. So I had that in my mind when he sent back my song and went, it's not good enough. And I went, fucking 8 Mile. And, but here's the thing. You know, you don't have a bird's eye view of Michael's vision of what's happening. And once I did, I understood why that song wasn't right. And what we needed at this point of the movie, because this is how the movie goes. 40 minutes of, I'm the awful dodger, but I'm from up north. And then it's an hour and 20 of train spotting. And then it's like Battle of the Bastards from Game of Thrones, you know. So by the time the film ends, you just want a hug. You really do. You need a hug.
That is such an accurate description.
Yeah, well then, the songs I sent weren't a hug, you know, they were, I've overcome this stuff and I am victorious now. That's not what was needed. You want to go, hey, we've been through some stuff together, everything's gonna be okay. Make sure you buy my t-shirt at the merchandise stand. Which is not how it actually goes, but should.
Today, when I knew I was going to see you, I thought, God, I really hope he sings.
I kind of did.
Thank you.
I kind of did. Right.
Well, unfortunately, we're out of time. I could talk to you for hours about this film. I absolutely love it.
Can I just say, I admire your perseverance and your endurance. Congratulations. Round of applause for you.
Anthony D'Alessandro with GVN Releasings, the performance.